So before we begin today's program, I do want to let you know that we are recording today's session. If you do not wish to be seen or heard in today's session, please keep your camera and video or your camera and audio off. Also, anything put in the chat will not show up in the recording. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, let Maggie take over, and we'll begin today's session. Maggie, we're ready for you to begin whenever you are. I just want to also let you know, Maggie, you're still muted. Maggie, can you hear me? Unfortunately, we can't hear you,
There
Maggie.
we go. How about now?
Yes, okay, now we're good. Let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, thanks, Brooke. Sorry I'm late. I was just on Clubhouse. Anybody new to that app? It's addicting. So much great information on there, sharing with amazing talks from friends all over the world. So, Brooke, am I ready to go ahead and begin the presentation?
Yes, ma'am. We're ready when you are.
Okay, thank you. So everybody, welcome my friends. Tell us where you're from. Please join in the chat. Just say where you're from. Oh, there you go. Now you can see me. Thank you. Thank you, Susan. All right. So welcome to our fifth episode of Discover Self-Care through Ayurveda. My name is Maggie Gruskin, and I'm joining you here from San Antonio, Texas. We're so grateful for the San Antonio Public Library and their adult learning program, bringing this program to you live. This program now is sponsored by the Mayor's Fitness Council here in San Antonio as one way to discover new ways, how we can up-level our self-care and create this community so that we can all live healthier, have stronger mental health, and enjoy ways to thrive. So welcome, Ipek from Istanbul. Fabulous. Nihan, Turkey as well. Fabulous. Thank you and welcome. So today is going to be part 2 of our food as medicine dialogue. I love this topic. I find it's an infinite possibility of how we can start with simple, easy ways of leveling up our own self-care with just the simple foods that we choose every single day. And welcome, Penelope from Florida, Susan, yay. So let's get started. I'll go ahead and share the screen with our PowerPoint for today. So again, today is part 2 of food as medicine. And we're going to focus today on the 6 taste diet. And what do we mean by the 6 taste diet? We'll get right into that. And the past monthly sessions have been everything about the basics of Ayurveda. What's your dosha, balancing tips, food as medicine. And if you've missed any of those, they are now being recorded. So we invite you to check out the YouTube channel for the San Antonio Public Library system, and you can watch those previous sessions now. Wonderful. So today we always like to start with, how are you feeling today? Right now. Let's just take a pause, check in. How are you feeling? And go ahead and share in the chat so that we can see how we're all collectively showing up. Like I'm feeling relaxed. Beautiful. Thank you, Seema. We're feeling anxious. We may be feeling fatigued. So much going on. Someone's happy and silly and relaxed. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. So part of this journey as we go from discovering self-care through Ayurveda is to learn the art and skill of pausing and pivoting. So we can have these moments of self-awareness so that we can pause in however we're showing up and then pivot in a way that is healthier for us. Beautiful. And so for a group exercise, let's just practice the STOP from Dr. Zen Fang from Mindful Gym. So let's just stop any busyness if you can. Resist that multitasking right now. And I invite you to bring all your attention and focus it on the present moment right now. And just take 3 slow, deep, and mindful breaths on your own pace. And see if you can focus on the exhalation as you allow that exhalation to be fully expressed and to last longer than you normally do. And on the inhalation, just let it come in, flow in effortlessly. Focus your attention and energy on exhaling. Let go of all that no longer serves you right now. And then as you inhale effortlessly, be open to receive. And one more, exhale. And in this more calm, present state, we can now observe and see if you can identify 3 sounds around you, whatever they are. And then as we begin to bring our focus back, if you've had your eyes closed, go ahead and open them. As we begin to proceed now with the matter at hand, whatever we need to do, let's do it mindfully and let's put a smile on our face. Let's fake it till we make it. Because how we do what we act then brings the feelings. So let's smile and see if that happiness follows us. Wonderful. So as we begin, what do you want to get out of this session today? What is your number one thing you'd like to learn? Write that down. And if any questions pop up, please put them in the chat and also write them down and we can review them at the end. Great. So Ayurveda. What is Ayurveda? I love to just remind myself and my students that Ayurveda is the sister science to yoga. Ayurveda and yoga have come across together, flowing and merging the wisdoms, and they work together. As yoga works on the mat to bring union to our mind and body, our mindfulness, our energy, our strength, our stability and focus. And then when we brighten and shine our vessel, that is our body and our mind, that is one of our tools, Ayurveda then takes it and says, how can I live more healthy? What choices will support my nature? And in this way, Ayurveda becomes this brilliant, wonderful tool for us to become empowered and self-aware individuals to then choose what is yum for me and to begin to avoid what is yuck for me. So with those, let's go ahead and begin to look at Ayurveda. And if you received the handouts from the email confirmation, you can go ahead and bring that out and you can start filling it in with some of the notes. So Ayurveda means the science of life. It is about a 5,000-year-old system, and it is a holistic system of healing, which uses all 5 senses. It's going to be using the 5 universal elements, and we'll go through those in a moment, and the 3 doshas. So the focus of Ayurveda is this wholeness, this oneness to ourself. We are not just our body, we're not just our mind, we're not even just our spirit. We are this complex, evolving awareness consciousness. So by viewing at what level of consciousness are we operating at right now, that is our beginning point. Knowing that the work is never done, there's always an opportunity for us to up-level, for us to get cleaner, remove the toxins, stronger, bring in that which revitalizes us, and then to uplift and live as our radiant beings. So with that, that is what Ayurveda is. And at the very, very foundations of Ayurveda, we're going to look at the 5 elements. So these are space, air, fire, water, and earth. And these are the building blocks that make up everything that we can perceive through all of our 5 senses. And Ayurveda views that these 5 elements exist both within us and in the entire universe, all the way out to the stellar star dust. So these 5 elements have a different characteristic. The space has potential. The air has change. The fire has transformation. The water has this cohesiveness, and the earth has protection and form. And when these elements are combined into pairs, they form the 3 doshas. So the 3 doshas are what we use to kind of understand ourselves and the world around by the predominant energetic characteristic of these doshas. So Vata is comprised of space and air and is the predominant view of how you look at movement. So it's the energy of movement. And then Pitta is a combination of mostly fire and a little bit of water. And this main element of Pitta or energy is transformation. And then the last of the doshas is the Kappa. So the Kappa is a combination of equal parts water and earth. So if you can imagine the qualities of what happens when you mix water and earth, that is the predominant energy form of Kappa. So these 3 doshas represent, in our universal and unique way in life, it represents our unique mind-body constitution. It's not our destiny, but more of an opportunity of how we can show up as this unique human being, as though at conception in yoga philosophy, it's viewed that these doshas are sprinkled at the time of conception. And like a fingerprint, it leaves us with this doshic imprint, which is really our tendencies of how we naturally flow through the world as connected to the 5 senses. So it's a beautiful, almost poetic way of viewing ourselves. And I invite you to look into that and to learn more about the doshas. And with the doshas and the elements, there are also this other concept called the gunas, or the qualities. And there's 10 pairs of opposites, or 20 gunas. And these are key to how we then balance the doshas. All right, so question, if you want to put in the chat, what is your dosha? For those of you that have been following us, I know by now you've gone online, done your dosha quizzes. Let's see who is joining us today. What are your doshas? Pitta, welcome to the party. And that is mostly fire and water, right? Someone is Vata and Pitta. Pitta Vata. So that is a combination of the fire, the water, space, and air. And we've got Kappa now in the house. Welcome, Kappa. That's our grounding foundation, right? And then there's a variation. Someone may be Pitta Kappa or Kappa Pitta, not sure. And if you haven't taken the test, no worries. It is now online. So just go online. You can go to chopra.com/dosha quiz. And you can also go to Banyan Botanicals. That's a beautiful way to just learn about the doshas. And I encourage you to look at 2 or 3 of the tests online and just see how they reflect the doshas and how it sits, the gut feeling of how these doshas and these tests reflect you. Wonderful. So it doesn't matter right now whether you know your dosha or not, because we're going to look at the basic qualities of foods. And remembering that in Ayurveda, our constitution is of 2 states. One is our prakriti, which means this is the way I was born, my nature, right? How I was born. So theoretically, this does not change for your whole life. It changes a little bit towards the end of life. Or if you have been through something that's really, really catastrophic, like a cancer or a huge stress in life that has shifted your whole life. So at birth, you have this amazing ratio of the 3 doshas, and that will be your nature. And the quest, the amazing adventure with Ayurveda is how can we choose as closely as possible to that which nurtures me and my prakriti, my individual constitution. And then to recognize life happens. Life happens. We can't always control everything. So right now, what is my current state of balance? This is known as my vikruti. What is maybe serving me or taking me a little bit away from my natural way of being? And sometimes our choices put us in a state of imbalance. And if that becomes chronic, 5, 10, 20, 30 years, we may live our whole life thinking that we are something that we are really not. So think about, are you living an authentic life? Do you feel if your life was a book, you as the author, are you writing your book as an authentic author? Or does it somehow feel fiction, like it's not your life? If you feel that, then I invite you to really dive into the doshas, get to know your qualities, and show up as your natural doshic self. All right, so let's get now into the focus, which is the 6-taste diet, food as medicine, part 2. So in Ayurveda, we look at beyond the macro nutrition. So beyond the carbs and the fats and the proteins, we're looking at like our cellular or subcellular way of showing up in the world, how we vibrate through the energies of not just food, but the qualities in the food, and how that then transforms our cellular makeup, our mental moods, and the messages that we give our mind and body throughout the day. So through our habits, we begin to form not only our body, but our mind, mood, and actions. So let's take a look at the 6 tastes. They are known as sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent. So if you're using your handout, you can turn to the second page, the back, and you can just start to fill it out. Otherwise, just go ahead and grab a journal and some pens or pencils, maybe even some colored pencils, and begin to take down a few notes. Just put down what resonates with you. We have a lot of information we're going to share, and just kind of get the general idea. So we have this be a fun, informative session for you. Recalling that from our last session, we looked at Agni, one of the principal concepts in all of Ayurveda. Why? Because Agni means fire, or that ignition, the ability to transform from all of the 5 senses, the energy, the information, the food, everything that we bring in through what we see, what we hear, what we taste, from what we touch and what we smell. These all bring in messages into our mind-body complex. And now the question is, not only what am I eating, but what can I digest? And that is the real question in Ayurveda, because our health depends on proper digestion. It is said that when our digestive fire is strong and healthy, burning brightly, we will then be easily able to digest our food and our experiences, our thoughts, and our emotions. However, when our digestive fire is weak or irregular, we cannot properly digest, even potentially beneficial ingredients. If you're buying wonderful, organic, expensive foods, if you're stressed out, if you're not eating, if you're eating at the wrong time, your body will not be able to pull all of the nutritional value from the food. So the importance of that, the main focus, is how can we keep our Agni strong? By eating the proper amount, by eating the right foods, and by managing stress. So we want to be on the top arrow, strong Agni. It will nourish the subtle nourishment in our shrotas, our channels, our circulatory channels, and this will lead to subtle nourishment. And we want to minimize toxins of all sorts. So this leads to a weak Agni in the bottom, which then leads to a toxic buildup, resulting in what is known as ama, toxic buildup in our mind and body systems. So ama is toxic residue. Signs of it might be bad breath, a coated tongue in the morning, a dull appetite, generalized pain, perhaps fatigue or depression, difficulty manifesting intentions. So how many of those are in your life or show up regularly? And then ojas, the nectar of life. Beautiful. Now we have signs. We're no longer just looking for, am I sick? What are the signs of disease? Ayurveda shifts our focus and asks, how can I be healthy? How can I know if I am healthy? Well, do you feel rested upon wakening? Does your skin have a healthy glow? Is your tongue pink and clear? Does your body feel light? Regardless of our body weight, do you feel that lightness in being? Do you feel centered throughout the day? Do you feel your digestion is burning brightly without bloating and a lot of gas? Do you feel generally energized and enthusiastic? Is your mind clear? And does your body have a pleasant smell? So these are all signs that we can say, are we healthy? Let's orient to that and improve our abilities to say yes to all those. So the sixth taste is what we will now dive into. So let's get going. Foods for the doshas. So each of the doshas, when you take the quiz, or if you know your main prakruti, your main mind-body constitution, when we're balanced, the general rule is eat all six tastes in general proportion. You're able to eat from all six tastes, and we're guided to eat all six tastes in every meal. And that could be as simple as adding a spice to account for one of the tastes. All right. So in general, Vatas will like to eat the sweet, sour, and salty tastes. Pitta will like the sweet, bitter, and astringent tastes. And then Kappa will like the pungent, the bitter, and the astringent. So what are these tastes? So you see how each dosha has qualities. The Vata comes from the space and air. And so the qualities of its foods nurture that nature. Okay. And look at Pitta. Pitta is fire and water. So the qualities in the sweet, bitter, and astringent nurture the nature of Pitta. And same for Kappa. The qualities of Kappa are water and earth. So pungent, bitter, and astringent nurture the qualities of Kappa. And that's how simple using the six tastes are for each of the doshas. So if you have a dosha constitution where you have a combination of the two or maybe all three, then you can eat and you should be taking in from all six tastes, or maybe 5 or 6 of them. So predominantly stick to the doshas or the tastes for your doshas. And so the way we look at the six tastes when we are feeling not well, when we are not seeing the signs of ojas, we want to then begin to change up the ratio of the six tastes. And that's why we're calling this the six taste diet. So a diet is just a temporary little change in the way we eat our meals. In ancient times, a diet was not a temporary way of eating, but the way you live, the whole of life. So we're taking in from all of the 5 senses. In essence, that is Ayurveda, which outlines for us the dinacharya, our routine for the whole day of self-care and how we choose to keep ourselves in balance. All right, so let's get into the fun nitty-gritty here. So when we look at the other handout you should have received in the email confirmation is this simple list of the 6 tastes with all the 6 tastes, and then a list of sample foods and spices that correspond to each of the 6 tastes. So we don't have time to go through all of those, right? But we're just going to have you look at that. Again, you can probably just Google it. There's so much great resources out there to educate you on which of the foods that you go to buy at the restaurant or that you grow at home. Homework assignment for you is to begin to identify which of the 6 tastes corresponds to the foods you mostly eat. So a fun exercise is to just take a food journal for 3 days and write down everything you eat, and then take the time, just do it for 1 day to begin with, and just write out all the 6 tastes for all the fun foods you eat, and see if you can see a pattern of which of the 6 tastes you mostly eat, and then you can match that to your dosha. Is it supporting your dosha? Or is this one way that we are perhaps unknowingly bringing added stress, adding foods we can't digest, and not eating at the right time, so leading to more of that toxic buildup, the ama? Okay, so just do that, please. It's such a fun thing. And text me if you do this. I want to see a picture of your list and would love to answer your question about that. All right, so let's say you have a lot of this Vata energy within you. So we don't like to type, we don't want to characteristically say you're a Vata. No, a person who has a lot of this Vata energy, that's just one aspect of being. So if you have a lot of this Vata in your dosha, then we want to favor the sweet, sour, and salty. Okay, this includes warm, oily, heavy, and grounding foods to reduce that dryness, the digestion imbalance, and maybe feeling not so healthy in the body or emaciated. So if you think about it, the Vata is space and air. Remember, the qualities are what we're always working with. And when we feel like there is too much of the Vata, then we need to kind of bring that down. We need to kind of reduce too much space and air. Otherwise, we're floating up, we're not grounded. So the warm, heavy oils, the grounding foods, that's what we want to focus on. And we want to reduce the pungent, the bitter, and the astringent. And when you look at the qualities of pungent, bitter, and astringent, that's going to have more of the space and air in those tastes. So we want to reduce those so Vata can come back down and be grounded in its own nature. So by doing this, we want to decrease anything that has the gas and the bloating, which is more air, right? So like cinnamon and cardamom and bay. And so try chewing those roasted fennel seeds. If you go to eat Indian food, they'll always provide it at the end of the meal. That's one of the things you can do just to help reduce that gas and bloating. Something as simple as that is perfect to add that last bit of the sixth taste for your meals. All right. So for Vata, if you have your checklist, you can say to balance Vata, you want to increase the sweet, sour, and salty. And then you want to reduce the pungent, bitter, and astringent. Okay, now let's go to Pitta. So real quick, Pitta is comprised of which two elements? Anybody remember? You can put it in the chat. So when you think of Pitta, just think Pitta, sun. So it's fire and water. And it's mostly fire, perfect. It's about 70% fire and about 30% water. So imagine if there's too much Pitta, you're going to be like flaming out, right? You're going to be burning through. We've discussed the characteristics of balanced and imbalanced doshas in our previous sessions, so I invite you to check those out and learn more about those. So we want to favor sweet, bitter, and astringent foods. So these include cool foods and liquids to reduce any perhaps inflammation, heartburn, irritability, and rashes. So think about it. When we feel there's too much Pitta, whether in our mind or in our bodies, we're eating too many hot sauces, or we're eating too many, hot sauce, we're eating just too many radishes, a lot of different things that will stoke our fire. Ginger tea, if we eat too much ginger tea, even though ginger tea is great, too much of it can also stoke us into that too much Pitta energy. Or in the season, spring is here, summer's coming on. So being mindful of the change of our external body and how that will also help us to pause and pivot and change up our diet to also account for the increase in Pitta in our environment. So we want to increase the cool foods and liquids. And then we want to reduce the pungent, sour, and salty. So pungent, sour, and salty. We want to reduce those. We want to alleviate excess acidity. So anything acidic is very, very Pitta. So we want to cook with cooling herbs as well, like cumin, coriander, and fennel and cilantro. You can even make a tea for CCF, cumin, coriander, fennel. And I love to do cucumber water. It's a super simple DIY. Just get some great water, purified water, as purified water as you can within your budget, and then just add some slices of cucumber. You can let them sit there for 30 minutes to an hour. It'll be so cooling and refreshing. All right, so that's good for Pitta. And remember, look at your guide to see what kind of foods are sweet, bitter, and astringent, and see which one of those you can add to your grocery cart this week. Oh yes, and coconut water. Thank you, Panaga. I love it. Coconut water is the best. And also coconut oil pulling in the morning. All right. So last one for Kappa. So to balance Kappa. So when Kappa gets out of balance, think of the two elements that make up the dosha. So it's water and earth. And if you combine water and earth, it's like making that brick. So when there's too much, it's like that heaviness, right? So you're becoming really heavy. So when we want to undo that, alleviate the too much Kappa, we want to favor the foods that are pungent, bitter, and astringent. Okay, so this might include light, dry, and slightly warm foods to reduce the weight, the congestion, perhaps the allergies, feeling fluid retention, or that sluggishness. So as you read the list for pungent, bitter, and astringent, this gives you an idea. So if you can just feel and see, if I'm feeling really, really heavy, then anything pungent like asafoetida or basil or cayenne or cloves or cinnamon, hot peppers, if you can feel this is hot, right? So this is going to get that heaviness moving. And that is how we use these pairs of opposites, the gunas, the qualities in all the food that we're eating, for a very simple recognition of how am I imbalanced, and then how can I bring the opposite quality in the foods, the thoughts, and the activities that I do, so I can support a reducing of that increase in kappa and return it back to balance. Beautiful. So if we're feeling too heavy in the body and mind, and again, these imbalances can be in our physical body as well as in our mental or more subtle aspects of being. So when we're feeling that heaviness, we want to reduce the sweet, the sour, and the salty. Why? Because this will help to kindle the digestion. We want to basically help it with freshly sliced ginger before meals. So the ginger is that fiery, right? So we want to help kindle it to break it up and move it. And so we want to reduce the sweet. Now, sweet is the biggest taste, which is represented by most of what we eat. It has things like apples, bananas, mangoes, melons, peaches. It has a lot of fruits. It has some nuts, all nuts and seeds actually, grains, a lot of the grains, some vegetables like artichokes, even avocado, potato, and things like that. Legumes as well, black beans, navy beans, tons and tons of beans, dairy, pretty much all dairy, and then the heavier oils. So you want to reduce those. And the sour, you want to reduce the alcohol, the cheese, perhaps the grapefruit. And the salty, you want to reduce maybe even garlic, meats and ocean fish, because they have a lot of that saltiness, and soy sauce. So that is as easy as it is. It's not difficult, right? But it's the act of pausing, noticing what foods we're actually eating. And for most of us, we have a pretty regular diet, right? Unless you're traveling a lot or having to eat out a lot, we can have a lot of control of what food goes into our grocery cart. Perfect. So with that, that is a very quick review of how to look at the 6 tastes and then how they're used to balance when we're not in balance, when we're not seeing the ojas, the details or the signs of health and well-being, and when we're feeling some of that ama build in built into our toxins. So let's remove the toxins from our body. Let's lighten the digestion. Let's eat at the right time. Learn how to manage our stress and increase the power and capacity of our Agni, our digestive fire, so we can take in and digest all the nourishment, not only from the foods, but from everything that we take in from the five senses. And then, of course, we want to recommend eating the colors, all the colors of the rainbow. That's one way to make sure that you are probably getting all six tastes. Okay, we want to look at the phytonutrients. So the phytonutrients are wonderful way to get the broad spectrum of nutrients. You want to eat a variety of it. The deep pigments in plant foods are pretty much dense with nutrients and generally have a lot of antioxidants. So those deep pigment foods, just sprinkle your plate. Make a beautiful, Buddha bowl with a bunch of different beautiful colored fresh vegetables. And cooking with color adds to that visual digestion of your food. We eat with our eyes first. So how can we make that environment, the activity of cooking, be a delight, not just to our bellies or our tongue, but also to our eyes, to hearing the beautiful sounds of cooking as we lovingly prepare our foods. Maybe add music, calming music, or beautiful jazz, or however you like to cook. So you elevate your vibration of the cooking, and that begins to encourage and appreciate all of the nutrition from the meal. And of course, eating all of the colors and the superfoods will also help to boost our immunity and enhance our health. And when we talk about phytochemicals, without getting, technical, and I'm not a nutritionist, but as common householders, we can, by eating all the colors, eating locally, as organic as you can, we can up-level our ability to bring these non-nutritive plant chemicals and all of their protective and disease preventive qualities into our diet. Just by eating all the colors, we can help be more empowered to be healthier by eating healthier. So this will bring the benefits to protect us against what's known as oxidative damage in our cells. It can also help to decrease a risk of cancer and heart disease just by going more plant-based. There's so much evidence now on going plant-based. For most of your meals, you can still eat a little bit of meat if you want. But anyway, that's for another chat and time. So the easiest way to get more phytochemicals, these amazing phytonutrients, is to eat more fruits and vegetables. Why? Because we want to build our microbiome, the variety of our gut flora. It's, thinking about the microbiome, it's basically this vast colony of microorganisms that inhabit our body, all over our body, including our gut. And these aren't bad little critters, they're awesome. They're beneficial for our health. They help us to digest our food, to regulate hormones, and they even influence our nervous system and emotions. I'm sure we've all heard of the gut-brain connection. Well, guess what? We have more power to influence our emotions by the food we eat and are able to digest. So think about that. More than 40, maybe 50% of Americans and people around the world right now are suffering with mental distress because of the pandemic, the economic crises, and everything else. So let's do what we can. Let's focus on what we have control over. Become the Stoic philosophers in life and show up as strong, as self-aware, and determined to walk our life with the greatest of ease and choosing that which most nourishes all of our whole mind, body, and spirit well-being. So with that, I urge you to consider reducing or completely eliminating super refined and processed foods. So limit meats, reduce or eliminate alcohol and toxic substances. That's our first thing we can do as we look at working with the 6 tastes and a healthier diet. All right, so as we get ready to wrap up before we open up to the Q&A, if you want to just take note of these 10 ways for a mindful way to eat, just write down whatever resonates with you. So number 1, pay attention to hunger cues before you begin eating. 1 to 10, how hungry am I? And then eat accordingly. Number 2, eat freshly prepared meals as often as you can. Maybe do a pre-prep on Sundays and prep your veggies. Number 3, engage all 5 senses and take your time. Remember to pause and pivot. Just as we did in the beginning, just take 3 breaths and engage your 5 senses. Number 4, eat your biggest meal in the middle of the day when your Agni is strongest. So between 11:30 and 12:30 is the best. So if you can, that's when all the workers show up to work in the factory of Agni to digest the meal. So make that your biggest, most nutritionally dense meal. And remember to make your dinner just a supper, a supplement, just so you're not hungry when you go to bed. Okay, number 5. Eat in a comfortable environment and be present with your food. So if you can, avoid working at your desk. Avoid working during your lunch, your biggest meal. Avoid multitasking. Please just try this. Try it out. See if it works. Just collect the data, see how you feel, and then decide for yourself on continuing that practice. Number 6, focus your attention on the sensations of eating. So again, focusing on the 5 senses. How attuned are we on the sensations of eating? Or are we distracted by watching TV, our favorite YouTube channel, or even listening to music? Let's feel the sensations of eating. You can do that by just taking a raisin or one small item and chewing it and paying attention and observing the sensations, everything that you can experience with your 5 senses and observations. Number 7, if you can, sit down to eat and enjoy your food. We're all so busy, I know, but please allow your Agni to be as effective as it possibly can. Sit, relax your legs, let all of the blood flow to your belly so all of the energy can help to stoke the fire of digestion. Sit down, breathe relaxed, and enjoy your food. Number 8, avoid overeating. So from 1 to 10, when you feel full, when you're done, am I 1 to 10? Eat till you're about a 7 or an 8 at the most. Leave room for digestion. Number 9, reduce or eliminate ice cold foods and beverages. This is like putting water on the fire of Agni. So please don't take ice cold water with a meal. It will reduce the effectiveness of the ability of your body to fully digest your food. And I know that's a big one for a lot of people, but just try it out, see how it works for you, and experiment. And the last one, sit quietly for a few minutes after your meal while focusing attention on your body. And if you can, take a short walk, even just 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Get out, breathe, move the body, help again with the Agni and the processing of all of that amazing nutrition you just took in. All right, beautiful. So those are the mindful eating techniques. Hopefully you were able to pull a few of those so that you can now begin to implement some of these thoughts. So to end and enliven your health with the 6 tastes, remember the number 1 guide is how can you keep your Agni, your digestive fire, strong? And be sure to include all 6 tastes and the 7 colors at every meal. Eat from the rainbow. Eat with your eyes. Take delight in all five senses when we eat. Practicing mindful eating techniques when you're eating and tune into your body. Giving gratitude and thanks for the nourishment of the food and the senses as we take in the beautiful food and energy. And if you can, try this out. Eat one meal in silence this week and record how you felt while eating. If you've never done this before, it could be really, really powerful practice. So again, I invite you to enliven your health by implementing whatever landed for you today. One new idea that inspires you to take action, to be more empowered and grow your capacity in living healthier through our foods and everything that we digest. So with that, I want to thank you. These are some of the references that I use in my talks. You're welcome to take a snap of this, or I can share with you the book list here. And up next, we invite you to come back every month on the second Wednesday of the month at 12 noon. Right now it's Central Daylight Time. And next month, it's Yoga for Your Mind Body Type, June 9th, again at 12 noon. So did you know there's different yoga styles that match different doshas? So I invite you to join in for that wonderful conversation next month. And invite you to save the date to join us for our amazing, beautiful annual celebration of the International Day of Yoga. Happens on the summer solstice every year, and we're celebrating it all week long here in San Antonio, beginning June 13th. We'll be starting with a nightly discussion from an expert on yoga for healthy living at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. We'll be having invitations and registrations opening up soon. And then our main event, we welcome everyone here in San Antonio. There'll be limited spots, maybe only 200 to 300 at the Shops at River Center, the beautiful lagoon here, where we do our annual community yoga class. So we invite you to sign up and register as soon as they open up. For more information, please touch base with our group at www.iduyogasa.org. iduyogasa, like San Antonio.org. And again, this is being celebrated around the world on June 21st. And here in San Antonio, we like to do it up all week long. So invite your family and friends to join us and learn more about the event this year. So thank you. My name again is Maggie. It's been my absolute pleasure to introduce you to the Sixth Taste. Feel free to text me or follow me on Facebook. I'm also now on Clubhouse. If anybody is on Clubhouse, join me. If you'd like to join, let me know and I'll invite you. Amazing discussions going on there for all kinds of topics. So Brooke, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you. I'll stop the share and we'll begin our Q&A session. Thanks, everybody.
So we did have one email. This patron's dosha is a mix of Pitta and Kappa. And they noticed that in regards to food, those two doshas are kind of opposites, yet they've been told they're a mix of both. One needs to eat cold and sweet while the other should avoid it. So how do they balance out those needs with that kind of mix? You're muted, or I'm having trouble hearing you, Maggie. There we go.
Yeah, sorry. So Vata and Kappa are actually the ones that are more opposite. The Pitta and the Kappa actually share the water element together. And then the difference between the two is the fire of the Pitta and then the earth of the Kappa. So when it comes to balancing the doshas, it's also good to understand, is the imbalance in just the physical body, or is the imbalance also in the mental sheath, the mind or emotional sheath of our well-being? And that can determine the practices that we use, right? So food is really good for the balancing of certain imbalances and certain elements. So if it is in the body, then we can definitely work on using the food to reduce or eliminate some of those aggravations. So you look at both of the doshas and you see, am I imbalanced in Pitta? So again, we go back to the qualities of the elements that make up the doshas. So Pitta is fire and water. And without looking at your quizzes, we can't really, talk in detail about it, but just in general, if a Pitta is aggravated, that means the fire may be really, really, really bright. So to cool that, to reduce that with the foods, you do want to go to reducing the fire. So you want to favor the cooling aspects, right? So you want to reduce the Pitta by looking at sweet foods, maybe bitter foods, and astringent foods. Now, if the Kappa is the one that is really mostly imbalanced, let's look at the elements and the qualities of the elements that make up that dosha. So a Kappa is that strong, stable structure of water and earth. So is the water out of balance? How can we, if there's too much water, we're just going to be very ungrounded, right? We're going to have a sluggish stool, right? We may not be able to properly digest our food that way. If the earth is too inflamed, if it's too prevalent, we're going to feel that heaviness, that sluggishness. So it's really important to understand the quality of our imbalance. And that is the art of applying this very simple understanding of self and then our choices that we make in life. So if there's too much of the earth, we want to then bring in the opposite. So the opposite of the earth is the space and air, right? We want to enliven it. So to decrease the kappa, we want to bring in the pungent, right? Because I think fiery is going to help the kappa, the pungent, the fiery chilies, and even the acidity of aspect of foods. Also bitter and astringent are super good friends for kappa. Why? Because they have that water element and they suck the water like that, and they help it to then flow. It's almost like they prepare the food to come together, and then the pitta will help to move it. So this in general is the way we look at the doshas, how they're imbalanced, and then we look at the opposites, the opposite qualities, and then we look at those tastes of what we can bring in more so we can reduce the imbalanced dosha. Okay, so I hope that answers that one.
Our next question is from a patron who was trying to reach out to you for last month's slideshow. They're wondering what is the best email to reach you at?
So my best email, I'll put it here, is doshadrops@gmail.com. And what we do is we offer these video recordings to view, and we hope that you'll be able to go back and watch all of them. Take notes. There's a lot of notes, and we hope that you can also follow along and use your handy dandy workbooks to take notes. So there is my email. Thank you.
We also have a question asking, how is the best way to improve the elimination of body waste?
I love to talk about poop because why? I want you to become a pooping champion. When we own the process of ingestion, digestion, and elimination, we are really then taking charge of our health. And it feels amazingly great when you can have that feeling of that lightness in body. When you're bringing in the right foods, you're eating at the right time, you're managing the stress, you're getting that sleep, you're taking in the water. All of these things contribute to maximizing and pulling all the nutrition from the food and emotions and energy from all five senses. So elimination, first thing I would do is track your water. How much are you drinking? At least 8 to 10 cups, maybe more, especially if you're exercising. So really track it, because most of us think we're drinking more water than we really are. So let's just track it. I like to collect the data and observe it and then change it up. So, and also number 2, First thing in the morning, before you drink your coffee or even tea, I invite you to chug some water. What I like to do is just get a big glass of water, maybe 12, 20, or 30 ounces of water. When it's hot outside, it could be lukewarm or just slightly chilled, but not cold. Actually, just lukewarm. And then just drink it. So just drink it, drink it, drink it, drink it. Now, this water is not going to be absorbed by the body. When you chug the water, there's not the time for the body to absorb all the water. But what it's going to help do is just flush. It's just going to help to move everything that's in our system along. Now, if you want to increase that, increase its potential to move food through the system, I like to include 1 drop of the lemon essential oil because that has a powerful effect of helping to activate the peristaltic action in the intestine. So it's just going to help to then move stuff along. And so you can do that every day or every 3 days or whatever you want. And then take a break. I always like to take a break from the oils to let the body reset, and we're not adding extra work for the body to process these beautiful essential oils. So that's number 2. I would really encourage you to do those 2 things. And then the quality of your elimination is going to also determine the quality of the imbalance. So when we say improve the elimination of the body, what is the shape, color, smell, and texture of the poop? And there's a lot of information online you can look to see, is it green? Is it brown? Is it yellow? Does it float? Does it sink? How long is it? All these amazing things. Get to know your poop because it should be about, 18 inches, 12 inches to 18 inches long, slightly curved, kind of like thinking a brown banana, and it shouldn't stink that much. So if it doesn't look like that, if you're not having at least 1 bowel movement a day, I encourage you to please, please, please do what you can. Talk with your doctor, see what you're not getting in your diet to improve the composition and all the qualities of your poop. Because when you can actually eliminate, your body will be blessed because now you'll have this emptiness, which, remember the elements, space is the potential of everything that we can have in life. And so when we create space in our body, we connect with that element of space, which puts us into this broader, open mindset and a clearer, lighter body. It's a beautiful feeling, and I wish that for you. So we can maybe do a talk on poop one day. It's really a fascinating topic, and there are so many ways to optimize our pooping capacity so we become pooping champions. Thank you so much for the question.
Another question is, how can we increase good bacteria to support our microbiome?
There's so many ways to do that. Eat a variety of foods, number 1. Eat locally sourced, seasonally based foods. Eat weeds in your yard. If you have a garden, like we have a certain space in our yard where we don't put any chemicals, and so you can actually eat the weeds that grow in our environment because they thrive. If they thrive locally, they're going to be thriving in your body. I know that sounds weird, but check it out. Eat wild. That's a huge movement right now. So you can look for some amazing books on that, how to identify the weeds that are growing in your yard, the weeds that grow in the cracks of the sidewalks. They have so much potential to feed our body. If you eat dairy, there's some great yogurts, kefir, that provide natural support for the gut flora. You can eat kimchi. So some people don't like it. It doesn't look appetizing, but once you get past the look of it, so kimchi, Kimchi, sometimes they're made with cabbage or beets. So again, it's this fermented, right? So it's going to have that pitta, that fire, right? So it's going to have the pungent. So that's going to help with the digestion. It's going to feed amazing qualities for your good bacteria. And so all of that and more. And make sure that if you ever are sick and you have to go on antibiotics can kill all the gut flora. So when you're done, talk to your doctor and make sure you're set, and make sure to reset that good gut flora. Reset it with really good probiotics. There's also great probiotics that you can bring into your diet. So lots of good ways, and a really interesting way to upcharge our diet. Thank you.
What about almond milk? Almond milk, is that good for which dosha? Is it good?
So it depends. So if we look at almond, let's look at this one then. Almond is bitter. So almond is bitter. And if we look at bitter, bitter is going to reduce Kappa and Pitta. So see, just like that. Look it up in the cheat sheet and then understand how the qualities of these are going to impact each of the doshas. But everything works together. So it's not just one thing. It's the 1,001 activities that we do in our day to nurture our mind and body in our quest for living healthy. All right.
We also have a question. You mentioned earlier about taking lemon essential oil with water. They're wondering how many days should you use it before you take a break? And then when should you start it up again?
Yeah, so I like to honor the body in that the oils are so super powerful. I want to encourage you to get the best quality oils that you can afford, and that they are certified pure, tested grade. So not every oil is food grade. The FDA has a list called GRAS, generally recognized as safe oils. And so these are just like taking in food. Make sure that that oil is on the GRAS list and that you are able to ingest it. A lot of practitioners, medical providers will say do not ingest oils at all. But the oils I use are safe for ingestion if they're on that list. So with that, the oil you can take in your water, just 1 drop for, I would say, a 4 to 8 ounce glass of water. And it should always be taken in either a glass container or a metal container. Because these oils are so powerful and effective, if you leave them in a plastic bottle, they can start to wear the plastic, and then you're going to be taking in that plastic. So we don't want that. So that's just part of the safety and self-informed aspect of essential oils. So essential oils, lemon is one of those that I can take every single day. 1 drop, it's awesome. I can even take it 2 or 3 times a day. In general, oils, maybe 20 drops a day is the max you want to take in. And if you're using one oil for a long period of time, the body can naturally start to make sort of a resistance to it. So we want to get as many benefits from the oils as possible. So learn that there's a variety of oils that will do the same thing for that one activity you're hoping to boost with this natural solution. And I'd be happy to talk with you offline further. But if you're going to do it for your GI to help move and activate that peristaltic action, I would do it for a week or 10 days, and then just take a break and see how that works for you. I love to use it. It's part of my self-care, but we're all unique. Okay. And if you have a lot of that Pitta energy in you, the lemon, even though the lemon oil comes from the rind, from the outer edge, the peel, it's not as acidic. So it's not going to wear the enamel of your teeth as the juice from the pulp of the lemon, the real lemon. So there's lots of benefits, lots of different characteristics. But if you're inflamed in the Pitta, you might want to use lime oil instead of lemon. It might reduce a little bit of that acidity. So I could talk about oils forever, but I hope that answers that question.
Well, perhaps on a future session, we could talk about essential oils. That's always an option for us. This is the end of the Q&A session. If you have any more questions for Maggie, you are welcome to reach her at her email. It is doshadrops@gmail.com.